sales is such a binary job that you either are killing it and you're making good money and you continue to do that, or you're chucked out. A mediocre engineer can still survive in a company, but a mediocre salesperson cannot. So while there's a lot of money on one side, there's a lot of risk of losing your job every single day. So when sales happened to me, I'll be honest, I didn't know there's a word called SaaS out there. Okay? So 2016, SaaS was not like a popular word in India. Okay, there was no company in India that would identify themselves as a SaaS company. Even today, if you go to the industry tab of any portal, right from a ZoomInfo to a Slintel to a LinkedIn Sales Navigator, you'll not find SaaS in the drop down. So in 2016, like it wasn't a thing at all in India for that matter, and I was looking for a sales job. I was not looking for a SaaS job, to begin with. And SaaS was not a glorified, sexy industry to work for. There were not many SaaS companies that were doing very well in 2016 when I started it. So I was just looking for a sales job. I was looking for a job where I can just explore more of my sales skills. Now, I had interviewed with two companies. One was Zomato, one was Metal. Like I just interviewed with two companies to begin my sales journey while I was at Metal. I was at CSC. And I kind of reached the final round of both the companies, and Metal gave me an offer first, and I accepted it and I joined. I never cared to follow up with what happened with the Zomato final round. Probably they rejected me, but I never, followed up with the HR either. And I think that if I would have joined Zomato back in the day, I would have been like a B2C seller, because that's what was deciding my fate between B2C versus B2B. Because I didn't even know like a lot of difference between the two worlds. Now, because I joined Metal, Metal was not inherently a SaaS company. A lot of what they were doing was servicey. So they were not having recurring contracts in 2016. They were having a lot of traction from India. They were doing really, really well in India. They didn't have a lot of exposure in the US markets or the Europe markets. And in fact, when Metal started, even the Metal founders did not know that SaaS business was another. They were building a good computer product business or a computer software business, as they call it, right? And they were having fun with it, right? A lot of revenue is coming in, recurring or not, it's okay. Like client needs to be happy. Someone needs a custom assessment. Let's charge X lakhs for it, and let's build that custom assessment. Now, taking the fee for custom assessment is not a recurring fee. You just take it, and that assessment is then used for the next 1 year. And whenever they consume the number of credits, they buy more. It is more like a consumption model. It's not really a SaaS model. So I think the first thing that we realized when this whole SaaS boom happened was that, hey, how do we SaaSify, Metal? And so I was at the right place at the right time when Metal decided to build a SaaS offering out of it and identify themselves as a SaaS company. But more so, like I think my biggest learning out of Metal was how to sell from India to the world, and do it at a time when there is no playbook, and build a playbook when you don't know you're building a playbook in the process, right? I mean, I didn't know the word playbook when I was building one, and I was just hustling. I think that's the only thing I was doing, and in the process, I realized that I'm building something that will eventually become a whole industry where you'll have SDRs and AEs from India that will be selling from India to the world. But in 2016, if you ask any founder that how do you sell to Dubai or to Europe or for that matter to Bangalore, the immediate answer would be hire a person in that place. So I would not see people selling from Delhi to Bangalore, leave aside Delhi to San Francisco, right? So if you need to sell to US, founders move to US. You hire someone in US to start selling to US. That's exactly how selling was done. In fact, Metal had like salespeople in every major city in the country. So it wasn't as if you just expect someone sitting out of the Gurgaon office to be selling in Chennai and Bangalore, and even for that matter Noida. You had someone in Noida, you had someone in Gurgaon, you had someone in Delhi, and so on and so forth. And what I was doing was called inside sales, because I was sitting in the office and selling to the world outside, while everyone else was doing sales. The fun part about what COVID did to the world is that now what I do is sales, and what others do is called field sales. Right, so that is a big transition which happened because of COVID, when people realized that, hey, like why were we doing this all this while? I just met someone who told me that they are doing $1 million deals out of India to US, and that's fascinating. That you don't need to meet people to do even $1 million deal. in person, and so like so much more efficiency came into the system. But when I started doing it in 2016, like I didn't have a playbook to follow, and I was just learning on the job. We realized that if we need to make things work, we all need to work out of the Gurgaon office. Like we can't be working from home. That thought never came. That it's okay to work from home. We were anyway selling to US. Like why do you need to be in the office, right? That all of these things changed after COVID, right? But I think before that, everyone was working out of office. So even our Mexico team was working out of office. But we hired someone from Peru to make calls to these Mexican leads that spoke Spanish, and someone from China to handle the Chinese leads that we were getting, right? And then do outbound in these regions. And now this is like a normal setup in metal where you have a lot of interns from other countries that help you sell to those countries and whatnot. So like we literally had kind of played around and toyed around with all the possible permutation combinations it would take to make this this unit successful, the international sales unit successful. And so I realized that by the end of my first quarter, when the trainings were getting completed for all the sales people, I was the inside sales guy. I was already selling deals while others were still getting trained and coached. And so by the end of the first quarter, I had already done more than my quarter's target, and I already was identified as a seller who's killing it more than average. And by the end of second quarter, I think I was probably the best salesperson at Metal. Right? And that's when the marketing team really got excited about what I was doing, and they wanted to be party to this. And they said, hey, all the leads that we're getting so far are all organic. Like we're not spending a single dollar. Now, what will it take for you to do 5x of what you're doing right now? And I said, maybe some more paid marketing, maybe an event or two. Can I go visit US? Can I go visit, Europe? And like Ketan and Siddharth, Ketan was the then CEO of Metal. Siddharth is now the CEO of Metal. Back in the day, he was the CRO of Metal. Were very supportive, So they sent a 25-year-old kid to US to just go learn the market. They sent me to Europe. They gave me that exposure where I would go to US and Europe with like very little meetings on my calendar, and they would not question me on what I was doing the entire day because they trusted that I'm hustling and trying to figure some shit out. And in the process, I built some partners in Europe that spoke that language. And so, from not knowing anything about the partner ecosystem, but just from first principles, trying to crack the fact that, okay, if you have to sell to Germany, you need a person who speaks German. Like, there's no rocket science around it. And so, visit Germany, find one person who is a good salesperson and is motivated to sell your product and can do it as a full-time job, and make him or her your, strategic partner. And you can't pay his salary, so give him good commissions for doing that, and then leave a 1 million euro target for him to achieve in the next 1 year, and go find someone in Italy who can do exactly the same. So that is what I started doing in Europe. And in US, I was doing direct sales, so participated in a couple of events. I had a booth. From setting up the booth to managing the booth, I was just one person in Europe in US doing all of this. Just imagine the hustle, right? I mean, you wake up at 6 a.m., you go to the event location, you set up the whole booth yourself, and then you're just standing on that booth alone, and you can't go for lunch because if you go to the lunch, then there's no one else to manage the booth because, like, obviously Metal didn't want to send 2 people to US, so I was the only one there. And so that actually gave me a lot of exposure, which I think I owe to Metal and to Siddharth and Ketan, who gave me that exposure, and that's basically where we started 5xing our revenue and whatnot, right? So that basically gave Metal the confidence that international territory is something that you need to take a lot more seriously. And we started building the product for the international market, and we started like spending a lot of money in the international market. Now I think the international market itself is more than 30-40 people. They're killing it. I won't be surprised if the revenue from international market is more than the revenue from India markets today, which is exactly what we envisioned to do. And eventually Metal got acquired by Mercer, which is also a global company. So doing all of this really paid off in the long run, and then and they never looked back, which is the good. And I don't mind sharing, but my first salary as a salesperson was 5.5 lakh rupees. And an average salesperson salary in Metal at that point would be around 20 lakh rupees. So I was being paid 1/4 of what an average salesperson in Metal was being paid, and I was killing it more than them. So that is what kind of made me realize that now I have identified a niche that I'm really good at. So my hypothesis around what I'll be good at was proven by the second quarter. And then I never looked back. So I was demanding 2x salaries at every appraisal, and I was getting them. I got a team around myself. I quickly became a manager after first year of an IC role. I suddenly became a manager, had much bigger targets, made sure everyone in the team feels good about working with me. And they were all obviously elder to me. I was like just 25, 26-year-old, back in the day. And like today I see 26-year-old like starting companies and doing really, really well. But again, I feel like, a very old guy right now, but when I started doing my sales, it was not normal for a 26-year-old guy to have a 5-member team to begin with, and so that happened in the second year. Obviously, everyone was like elder to me, but I learned how to gain respect of people who are elder to me, but still make sure they do their work well and they learn on the job, etc. And then in the second, third year of my career, my sales career at Metal, I was handling more than 15 people, and a much bigger target and whatnot. And it started working out really, really well for Metal, the whole international sales market and whatnot. And and that was it. I think that's when I realized that I have done something significant with my career now. And then Metal got acquired by Mercer. I moved to San Francisco for some time, worked out of the Mercer San Francisco office, closed a $1 million deal with Mercer, and also realized that I don't like to close $1 million deals a lot. I rather would go back to my startup world and close 5 deals in a week versus closing 1 deal in 5 months. And so came back to the startup world, met Deepak there, and that's where the transition from Metal to Slinky happened. So yeah, that's very interesting. So Deepak reached out to me, to sell Slinky to me as a prospect. Right? I got a cold LinkedIn message from Deepak or someone from his team to show me the platform. When I looked at the platform, I was impressed by what they were building. I really liked the technographic aspect of the platform a lot, which was understanding the customers of your competition. And I was at Metal when I first saw the demo, I was very intrigued by what he was building. And then Deepak, I gave some ideas on the product in my first call, and then the second meeting, coincidentally, I was in the Bay Area, and Deepak was also based out of the Bay Area. So I said, yes, we can have an in-person meeting as well, if you'd like to meet. And then we met, in person in San Francisco. And it was a very formal discussion. He showed me the platform again. Deepak otherwise is a very reserved person, so we met very professionally. And then after, the meeting was over, we just said bye. He was going to his parking lot. I was waiting for my Uber. And he just came by and he was like, can I drop you somewhere? Where are you going? And I said, I'm just going to, a nearby bar to have a couple of drinks. And he said, do you mind if I join? I said, no, why not? You can come, I'm going all by myself. He drove me down there. We had, some good conversation there. And that's where we started having a little bit of informal conversation. And this is a funny story that he actually offered me to stay at his house for the rest of my US trip. And I thought he's not very serious about it. And I told him I'll let you know. I was going to some other cities after that. So I said, I'll let you know the next time I'm in the city, because right now I'm already sorted with my stay. I've already paid for it. So I'll let you know the next time I'm in the city. I'll probably take you up on this. And the next time I was in Bay Area, I also shamelessly gave him a call and asked him if I can come and stay with him. And he said, yeah, of course, just come down. Cut to me staying in his house for like 1 month, and knowing him and his family a lot better. But later on, Deepak told me that his wife that day was extremely upset with him that he got a stranger to live in his family with his family. I didn't know Deepak had a family, obviously I knew Deepak I knew very little about Deepak, and so his wife was not very comfortable about hosting a stranger in his house, randomly and inviting me to stay at his house. But eventually, his family became friends with me. I enjoyed a lot of time with his son, spent a lot of weekends going out, going on drives. And in this process, I was just staying at his house as a guest and, doing my own thing with Metal, and Deepak was building Slinky. But obviously now that you've become friends, you start exchanging notes around what you're building versus... I never bought Slinky at Metal, but, but learned a lot of things about Deepak and the product itself. And then eventually I just became a part of the Skype group that Slinky had, which was called Business Development, where, so they had 2 salespeople, Gaja and Abhishek, who were actually, Abhishek had some sales background, but Gaja was a product guy. And they were trying to do sales with Deepak. And so to give them a little bit more help and comfort with selling, Deepak just added me to this Skype group. So these guys could just have exposure to me if they had any complex question around pricing or how to go about doing this sale, etc. And I started helping them as a friend. Deepak started offering me a position at Flintl very subtly, but I told him I'm very comfortable with what I'm doing with Metal and Mercer, and so Metal and then eventually Mercer. And I did not take the offer very seriously for the longest time until he was racing around with Stellaris, and then Deepak asked me to go meet Alok, who was putting in money in the business. This was my first ever trip to Bangalore, just imagine. So because I was so focused on selling from Delhi to US that Bangalore was an insignificant city for me, So I would never travel to Bangalore. And Deepak said that Alok wants to meet you. Can you go meet Alok? And I had the option of doing this conversation virtually as well, but I said no, I'll actually go and meet Alok in person. Alok was obviously a personality that I wanted to meet in person, and I saw value in going and meeting him actually. So I took a flight to Bangalore, met Alok, and by the time I came back to Delhi, I came back on the same day, I think. And by the time I came back to Delhi, Alok and Deepak had already spoken to Siddharth Gupta. I had, by the way, resigned at Metal, and I was helping my wife with the spices business. That is the phase in which this conversation with Alok happened. And both of them had a very strong pitch for me to join Singh. And Alok had already spoken to Siddharth Gupta, and Siddharth gave one-line feedback about Anupreet that, hey, is Anupreet in the market? Is he looking for a job in tech sales again? Because I know that he went to build a spices business. But if he's in the market, then I'm hiring him back. So that was a strong enough feedback for Alok to tell Deepak that do everything possible to get this guy on your side. And Deepak said, I've tried everything. Maybe both of us can try together, strike a deal with Anupreet. And then eventually, this happened, and I joined Singh. I think I was one of the first 10 employees, and I started working with Gaja and Abhishek more formally, and I moved to Bangalore. So from me telling my parents that I'm just doing this quick trip where I'm meeting someone to moving to Bangalore was a 2-day decision. So I met Alok on Monday and I joined Slintle formally on Wednesday. That's how quick I am with my decisions. Actually, that's another thing about me. So I joined Slintle, as a sales director. So I was only focused on doing sales at Slintle for the longest time. The marketing director joined a couple of months after I joined, so I had a little bit of head start in what we wanted to do with marketing. We had already decided as soon as I joined that we'll only be focusing on US as a region. So we only were selling to US, there was no other territory that we had focus on. And again, I don't think many companies were attempting to do US only back in the day. Today, you will hear from investors that don't focus on any other territory but US. But back in the day, there were not many companies that had done, let's say, $10 million from India to US and only from US. So we were very clear that we want to have one ICP, one TAM, one region that we want to sell to, and that will be US, and we'll do it from India. We're very clear on what we wanted to achieve. And then we started doing outbound. There was something that was already working for them. Started changing the price points. They were selling $500 per month contract. We changed it to $6,000 per year, an annual as the minimum commitment that someone has to give for the product. And then it increased to 10, 12, 13,000 eventually, and it just became a thing that started to work out. We realized ZoomInfo is a huge beast and will not be distracted by other competitors, but let's go all in against ZoomInfo. And that became our GTM strategy, to be shameless about saying that we are the number 2 sales intelligence platform in the world. And there were so many, but we could cut through the clutter and could identify ourselves as the second platform in sales intelligence that really works after ZoomInfo. And that gave us a lot of ZoomInfo's churned customers, looking at Slintle as a serious competitor, and we were true to our pitch that we're the best technographics vendor on the planet. We are far better than ZoomInfo with technographics, and the product also delivered on that promise. And so we could get a lot of ex-ZoomInfo customers to sign up for Slintle, and then also a lot of current ZoomInfo customers to use Slintle's technographics, and that became our entire GTM strategy, that let's keep going after ZoomInfo. They have a large enough customer base that gets churned every month, every year, and that will be big enough for us to hit our first $10 million. And let's not be digressed by what Lusha or Apollo or Seamless or all those other, say, $99 per month kind of tools are doing. We'll not have we'll not focus on those. Let's just have like single focus on going after the Zoom Info market, and that really paid off. And then I think by the time we hit $1 million, I think at least 60% of it was coming from inbound. And then by the time we hit $5 million, at least 80% of it was coming from inbound. So we became a very heavy inbound first kind of company with the same strategy in mind, that let's go after Zoom Info's customers and tell them that if you're not happy with Zoom Info, we're the best alternative for you. And that really worked. Slinky was in a very crowded market, and consolidation was inevitable. We could see that Zoom Info was already on an acquisition spree, and we could see that you either start acquiring or you get acquired. There was no other option that you had, because otherwise you would become too small, against all the other beasts that were getting together to compete against you. And in 6sense we saw a great partner to take this journey ahead and go head on against Zoom Info. I think soon enough SaaS realized that sales is a very essential part of your business. You build a product and then you need sellers to sell it. So you can't be paying sellers what you were paying, or like other industries have been paying sellers for the longest time. And so SaaS I think was the first industry, one of the first industries to start paying 1 CR plus kind of salaries to AEs and SDRs in the very early stages of their career were making 20-25 lakh, and that was normalized. While most of the other sales industries don't have that kind of salary for for sellers that have like 5, 6, 7, 10 years experience, right? So that was actually identified by SaaS first, I believe, and then other industries are probably now following suit in case they want to hire people from SaaS. But I think like it is becoming impossible for any other industry to hire from SaaS now because of the kind of salaries that they command in the market. So I realized that I enjoy marketing a lot when I started getting into the marketing side of things at Clinton. And so that was a big learning for myself, and I started going deeper into it and started like having a lot more interactions with my marketers so that I can learn marketing. I would spend my spare time on weekends to learn a little bit more about marketing, read and watch a lot of podcasts, etc. Around marketing. So that became like a thing, an everyday thing in my routine, that I really was intentional about learning a lot more about marketing. So eventually I became the senior director for go-to-market, where I had a dotted line reporting of the marketing head and the customer success head as well. But even when that happened, right, it was done with the intention of being available for the customer success leader and the marketing leader of the company, so that if they need my help, I can spend some time with them as well. Because now I'm obligated to, versus earlier where I would keep all of my focus and attention on sales. So even when I started leading go-to-market, I was letting the marketing head do his job the way he was doing it, and letting the customer success head do his job the way he was doing it, but just adding some value in terms of whatever I think I know better, in terms of, let's say, hiring better talent, maybe adding some more processes from the sales team to the customer success team, giving some more ideas to marketing team from whatever I've learned from the sales experience that I had. But obviously they were better marketers than me, so I don't need to go in and ask questions around everything that they were doing. I let them be, and success or failure, it was all attributed to the marketing team or marketing head. I was just there to like support them with wherever they need my help. And that was very clear that I'm becoming the go-to-market head not to replace the marketing head or the customer success head, but to just give them some of my bandwidth and let them learn from things that my org was doing right all this while. So that's all I did when I became the GTM head from the sales head. I became an angel investor. I invested in a few SaaS companies. So GAN just came to me through Sequoia as an opportunity to invest. And I promised a check already in the first meeting with Subrat, and I told my wife that this is probably the most exciting startup that I've invested in. I'm so happy that this opportunity came my way, and I'm very positive that this company will do really, really well. And we left it at that. So imagine, Virat Kohli sending you a personalized video saying, "Hey, Anupreet, how are you?" And Anupreet being surprised in the journey that, "Hey, do you just call out my name?" And we realize that the attention span of the person is so much more if you hear your name in the middle of a video message. Like if in this podcast I suddenly call you by your name, you will be giving a lot more attention to me for the rest of the podcast. And so the implementation of a tool like this is massive. But I truly feel that this is how people would do their video marketing in future, where you will not even realize, like it will become table stake that people are doing personalized videos, just like you don't even notice that someone used main merge behind the scenes when you got an email. That's how normal it should be. It isn't really about novelty of using video personalization. Today it's looked at as novelty, that oh wow, Shahrukh just called me by my first name, that's amazing, that's novelty. But there should be a situation where if someone doesn't call you by your first name, you should be like, hey, the company is living in like 2022 it seems. Like why are they still not using GAN to personalize their videos? Why are the videos still embarrassingly generic? I think that's the future that I believe will be normalized in the next few years, and I want to be a part of that. Till the time you really find that one thing that you're really good at, keep experimenting. Identify difference between risk and fear. Is it really a risky decision to change this job, or is it just your fear that is stopping you? If it's actually risky, you have a lot of responsibilities at home, I'm with you and you may not want to experiment a lot. But if it's just your fear, try to overcome that and take that risk until you find your peace with a job where you really think you'll be the best in the world. And do it till the time you get bored. Don't switch because you're getting a better 20% hike somewhere else. Like, look at the larger picture, see if this company will really kill it, and be with the company till the end it actually kills it, and see that whole journey. You'll really learn a lot in the process, and find better reasons to switch jobs. Don't switch jobs because someone else is paying you like 30% extra. Switch jobs when you think that this company is really going to kill it and I want to be a part of that whole journey, and then make a switch. And once you really reach the point where you're making like 1 CR a year, and I'm sure you will if you're doing something that you absolutely love, then be ready to take a hit in your salary and increase your equity component every single time you do that. So the whole idea of making a lot of money in your base salary is to be able to afford at some point giving away that that salary in exchange of very high equity, and that very high equity makes you life-changing wealth. So that's the whole process of being wealthy that I have identified in my career, that you start from wherever you are right now. I started at 3.25 lakhs 8 years back, and you go to wherever you think your career can take you, and be a little independent financially, to not care about that package anymore, but then optimize for equity and then make life-changing wealth, and that will actually create a real impact on your lifestyle. Like, that is where you can change your lifestyle, and take your family from, let's say, a middle class stature to a upper middle class stature, or to a rich quote unquote rich lifestyle. It's a very big awareness problem with sellers that are not in the SaaS industry. They feel that 7 lakhs per annum is a great salary, and their managers have made them realize that getting a 10%, 20% hike year on that 7 lakh is great, and getting whatever 10k commission every month or 20,000 rupees commission every month is okay. I think you need to break that. Look at other industries like SaaS, where sellers are respected a lot more. Get yourself upskilled and be available when it's time for making that switch, being ready, more than available, being ready to make that switch whenever you get that opportunity. And I think and make life-changing wealth out of it. If you're making anything less than like 12 lakhs per annum in your sales job today, and you're doing good in your sales job, it's time to make a move. That's the average salary that everyone is making in that industry. It's time to change the industry, because you'll be stuck in the wrong place. Most people don't look beyond the well that they're stuck in, and you need to, for you to realize what your true potential is from a career as well as earning potential. And Samaj is doing a great job with spreading that awareness and upskilling people to be able to realize that dream. And so, like, if you are that person, then just join somehow, start getting prepared to get that 1 CR 2 CR salary in the next few years.